Welcome back, everybody. Joe with Forge Performance, taking a little break from our detailed drag car video update series to give you some highlights from our experience at TX2K19. We had a great experience. A lot of people had seen the car in person for the first time, so we had a lot of interest in the various things done to the car, answered a ton of questions. But at the end of the day, the event didn't go quite according to plan, so we're going to share with you a little bit of the pass that we made and then what we discovered after reviewing some of the data.
Glad we got that first pass out of the way.
Was that fun?
Yeah, that was really fun. Came on, holy shit. The car, like, I mean, it's fast. It moves around a lot. Confidence. First time in a brand new car, brand new setup. Woo! But now I got all the butterflies out, so I think we're good.
Oh, yeah.
And here's where things take a turn. So we review the Motec data logs after every single pass. We have 600 channels of data that we review. The pass was clean with the exception of the boost control acting up. The sensitivity was just a little too much on the 4-port boost controller, and we tried turning the power down, and it was just making the boost control be very erratic and making the car buck down the track. But after reviewing all of the data, we saw something in the oil pressure that we just didn't like, so we decided to inspect it a little bit further. All right, a little bit of a crude video here for the way we're checking the oil, but this is the oil that came out of the bottom of the oil pan. See just a little bit of fuel saturation because we captured this right when we cracked the return line to the scavenge section of the pump for the dry sump. And as you can see here, the oil is fairly clean, no debris, no nothing, except for the little bit of moisture and fluid or fuel that's in the bottom there. All right, now here we're looking at the oil that came out of the filter housing. So this is after it's ran through the pump, scavenge section, back to the oil tank, and then comes out of the pump into the oil filter, and then goes to the oil cooler and off to the engine. As you can see here, there's quite a bit of, trying to pick that up, quite a bit of material in the oil. It's not like it's this heavy grip, but it looks like there's just like an aluminum. It's not magnetic, but there's definitely some type of powderized metal. We believe it to be the dry sump pump kind of slowly eating itself alive. Because when we looked in the oil from the engine, we did not see any of this come out of the bottom of the engine. So we're fairly certain that the engine is still healthy, but we think we have an issue with the dry sump pump itself. We also decided to cut the filter open. And you can see here there's just a little bit of stuff in between each of these folds. It's kind of hard to pick up on the camera, but if you flip it over on the filtered side, there's nothing there. Obviously this is a very fine 100 micron oil filter that picks up everything, but you can see here in the bottom, just a little little bit of stuff that we don't like what we're seeing here, so we're going to shut it down for the weekend. Save the engine, because the engine is not hurt at the moment, and we want to keep it that way. It's a little bit more of an indication that came straight off the filter. You can see what we're dealing with. A little disappointed that we don't get to run the car anymore this weekend, but we're going to play it safe, get the pump serviced, and then be back out on the track hopefully here very shortly. As you can imagine, I was very disappointed that we only got the one qualifying pass in before seeing an issue, but hey, that's what the Motec is for. That's why we review those 600 channels of data after every pass, and the oil pressure just wasn't where it needed to be. The oil was most likely fuel saturated, and we could have just changed the oil and probably continued to race for the weekend, but seeing the material in the oil filter just didn't leave me comfortable with risking a $30,000 racing engine if that pump was in imminent danger of failing. So we decided to pull it on the trailer, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and live to fight another day. As you could imagine, I wanted to get back to the shop as quickly as I could to drain this oil tank. I just didn't have the 9/16 Allen on the trailer with me. Now, we probably could have found one, but we knew we were done racing for the weekend. As you can see, there is a ton of alcohol saturation in this oil tank before any oil actually comes out. Now, that's our own fault. We changed the filter multiple times on this engine, but this oil has probably 10 full pulls on the dyno, has a couple test hits, some idling back and forth onto the trailer around the pits, driving to get an alignment and back. We just should have changed the oil before we even got there, and we probably would have gotten our oil pressure back after seeing what we saw in the tank. Now, as you can see here, what came out of the tank was not quite as bad as what was in the filter, but there is still some aluminum in there. But once we pulled the pump apart, all of our suspicions were confirmed. All right, guys, what you're looking at here is back at the shop, we got the pump off, and you can see the rotors on the pump have clearly been coming in contact with the outer housing, and that's where all these aluminum glitter and speckles we've been seeing in the oil at the track. Not 100% sure the cause of it quite yet, but clearly need to service the pump before we run this thing again. Pretty glad we decided to shut her down after seeing this. All right, and that's a wrap for TX2K19 for the Forge Performance shop car. Thought this shot was fairly symbolic, us packing up the chute, because we were packing it up for the weekend after reviewing the Motec data logs and taking those oil samples after seeing the oil pressure was just not where we wanted it to be. None of the safeties were tripped, but we decided it was safer to just pack it in for the weekend. So the Peterson pump is already in the hands at Peterson out in Colorado. They're reviewing what happened to the pump, giving us some upgrades to it as well. We hopefully will have that thing back here within about a week or so. We'll have it back on the car and back out to the track for testing. So until then, we'll see you guys on the next video.